Hello, I'm Charlotte Jessup and welcome to the Looking After Your Pennies YouTube channel. And today it is all about a disaster budget. So I'm going to kick off by telling you what a disaster budget is. A disaster budget is a term that I use for your bare bones budget. It's the budget you use when everything goes wrong. It's looking at what money you would need each month to survive, to keep the roof over your head, to keep food on a table if there was no other income. So, or if things got really hard or your income reduced, what money would you need to keep life going on a basic, sort of on a minimum bare bones budget? It's one of those topics that we don't like to think about, but when we do think about it, it can actually start to open a lot of doors for us. And I created this budget first for our family when I was looking at going part-time. So I had my first daughter and I went back to work full-time, and I did not enjoy it one bit. I was very envious of my husband, who was lucky enough to be staying at home with her, and they would go out for beach trips and do all sorts of exciting things, and I was like riddled with jealousy about that. And I decided that after my second daughter was born that I really wanted to go part-time. Now, that was the motivation I needed to create this bare bones budget. I was like, what would our lives look like if we completely cut down our expenses? I wanted to know what the minimum our family needed was in order to survive, and then I would decide what extras we could allow in if I went part-time. What I actually learned from that situation was that what we need to live off was actually very little. And that created a sense of freedom for me. So this is why you need a disaster budget for you. It puts you in a great position to be prepared for the future. Now, we talk a lot about emergency funds in the personal finance community, and the amount of emergency fund you need depends on your expenses. It depends on how much money you need to keep your family going. They say it's 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Now, if you don't know what expenses are, then you need a disaster budget. But it is so much more than that. What it becomes is an exercise in finding out what is the most important things, what things are absolutely crucial in your life, and then what things are surplus to that. And once you look at the surplus, you can then start to be more critical about what falls into that category. So you can start thinking about what things you actually want in your lives and what things just sort of subtly crept in, and maybe you were aware at the time and you forgot about them, or maybe you just did them because everybody else you know was doing them. So by taking everything back, stripping it right back to that bare bones, you can then look very critically at everything else. How do you create your disaster budget then? So I have 5 steps for you. The first one is to eliminate what I call the quick wins, okay? So these are things like your Netflix subscription or your Amazon Prime, those things that you could cancel in a second and then they would be gone and you wouldn't have to pay for them anymore. So a lot of these sort of subscription services are things that you are on like a 1 month rolling contract. So you pay for a month and then that takes you through that month, and then if you cancel any time during that month, then you don't pay for the next month. So those things, you know that if the money was not available anymore or you seriously needed to cut back, those things could go. So get rid of those things first. Now, you don't actually have to get rid of them, but what we're doing here is we're creating a budget. Maybe you could use my budgeting spreadsheet or your own version to create this, and you just want to get rid of everything that would not be essential in that situation. So it's kind of just like a mock budget. So we don't necessarily have to cancel those things now, but we can remove them because we know that we could get rid of them easily if we had to. So eliminate those quick wins. So number 2, look at reducing your monthly bills. Now this one is going to take a bit more time. You're going to have to work at this one and keep tracking when your contracts for, say, your electricity, your gas bills, your telephone, when they end, and then look at reducing them then. So there are going to be lots of different components that make up your monthly bills, and you just need to get into the habit of looking for ways to get those lower. And once you make it a habit, what you will find is that that magic number on your disaster budget, that amount that you need each month, is going to decrease over time. So that's number 2. Number 3, look at your food shopping. Look at how you can reduce the amount you spend on food. Now, if you're a family, you're probably spending a fair proportion of your monthly income on your food shopping. So get creative about how you can reduce that. I've done videos before on things like meal planning, so make sure you take a look at those so you can find some new hints and tips about how you can reduce your food shopping costs. What you want to do is get to a point where you know what the cheapest shops are, what sort of meals you can cook to keep the amount you spend on food down. Number 4, once you have done those things, once you've eliminated those quick wins, once you've reduced your monthly costs, once you've looked at getting your food shopping down, I want you to collate all those totals and get that magic number. Now that number is your disaster budget. That's how much you need. Now if you're looking at doing this to think about your emergency fund, then you may need to times that by 3 or 6 to get the amount that you need for a fully stocked emergency fund. If you're doing this as just an exercise to see maybe where you're overspending on things, then that number is going to really propel you forwards. And finally, number 5, this is to avoid what we call lifestyle inflation. So once you have that magic number, once you've done all the work there, what I want you to make sure is that you don't let that number creep up. So you've worked hard to get to this position. You're not going to be living your life like that at the moment, but what I want you to do is keep those absolute essentials to that minimum. What you don't want to do is start adding in things that are extra bills or extra costs that you don't need in your life but become part of your disaster budget, things that you would have to pay. So this could be something like car finance. You would keep having to pay your car finance even if you lost your job, but if you haven't got it at the moment, don't add that into the budget. Okay, try and keep your disaster budget to an absolute minimum, only allow in the things that genuinely bring you joy, but also things that you know you can eliminate kind of quickly, so make it a quick win so that you know that you could get rid of it if that day came. So that's a disaster budget, and you can use this to really reflect on your life. What things do you want and what things have you just let creep in? I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, hit the like, leave us a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see more of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.